Okay. Got a lot of composite in here, huh? It's shiny. But the marginal ridge certainly looks flat from facial to lingual. Yeah, and for example, the mesial pit's not there. So we definitely want to get the anatomy better. So the first thing we do is make sure we have more of a concave surface from facial lingual. Now your lingual margin is pretty far over here, isn't it? But still from there, we want to have a marginal ridge which goes downward a lot more. Then we do the outside of the marginal ridge. But then to do the inside of the marginal ridge, we need to have a pit about right here. So make the pit and get the grooves. That's the key to the whole thing. So the chances are, with the marginal ridge that you had, it would have been very high in occlusion for the patient. So again, here are all the steps that we do. So top of the marginal ridge, the outside of the marginal ridge, pit, and then the inside of the marginal ridge. Then we start to get the shape that we're looking for. Then put a pit over here. And then in between, you're going to have a nice groove that goes from this pit to this pit. And make the central groove deeper so that when you go from pit to pit, you don't have to touch the margin or touch the surface of the tooth so much. So you got to get the anatomy down. That's the key to the whole thing. So get the pits deeper, get the center groove deeper. Remember, the pits and the grooves have to be lower than the margins of the surrounding tooth structure. If they aren't, then you're going to have excess every time. Okay, so now it's starting to look a little bit more like the anatomy that we want. I can see a little bit more of the margin here. So clean it up with the enhanced polishing point and then see where you are after that. You have composite all the way over there, huh? Okay, have a sort of a concave surface. Whoops, wait a minute, I'm looking over here. Okay. So there's a fair amount of excess right here. Remember we had a step here in your box? Mm-hmm. But the composite came all the way over here. That all that has to be removed because that's all beyond your margins. Okay, so make sure you look at that too. When you're really happy with the anatomy, then you can start polishing it. Okay. So much easier now. Okay. Yeah, you're regretting you had that adjacent tooth that was already damaged, but somehow you got a contact, but you got some excess down there, huh? Got a gingival overhang, lingual excess, facially a little bit too. But yeah, you can see you have excess all the way down to here. The margin's here, but you have excess all the way down to the gingival area. So, use an interproximal carver or a scalpel, whatever you need to do. Take rid of that excess. Gingivally, and right here, you see that? Okay, and then there's no pit here, see? The top of the marginal ridge it's still got a bump right in the middle. So make it really nice on the top, then do the outside, then do the pit, then do the pit. Okay. So until you've done all that, until you have it looking so, whoa, that's beautiful, really natural looking, don't bother polishing it. Yeah, you're not going to be making anything look better by polishing a poor contour. So top of the marginal ridge. Then use the other burr and do the outside of the marginal ridge. And then get a nice pit. So really get a pit and make the grooves into the pit, go parallel to the marginal ridge. Then you can bring the top of the marginal ridge down into that pit. But see, no pit here at all. You've got to get it below the level of the margins so you can get rid of all the excess at the margins. And then, so you got excess up here, so adjust. Keep the center groove below the level of the margins, then the excess goes away. Okay, so remember, top of the marginal ridge. Outside of the marginal ridge you can do with the other burr. Then the inside of the marginal ridge. But again, if you don't get the basic features, the pits and the grooves deep enough, you'll never get the contours of the restoration, and that means you'll never get the margins. Okay, so now see what you can do to finish it up. All right. Okay, so no anatomy. All right, let's get some anatomy. And look at the contours here. Something's wrong there, isn't there?
Yes.
So what are you going to do about it? So let's go to this other burr. So you know there's a lot of excess contour in this area for whatever reason. But you can start to do something about it with this burr. Now we're starting to see where the margin actually is. But it looks like probably when you put your matrix band in, you burnished it a little bit too bulky in that area. Now, of course, one of the problems also is that your adjacent tooth has the damage. So you're trying to work your contact against a flat adjacent tooth, and that's pretty hard to do and get the embrasure contours the way you want, especially on that side over there. So you're not going to get a nice natural looking contact area just because you chose to work against a damaged adjacent tooth. So after this, don't do that. Okay, get a nice new tooth so you have a nice contact. Then the top of the marginal ridge. Again, do the top of the marginal ridge, then the outside of the marginal ridge. Then when you do the inside, you start with making a pit right here. And make sure that pit's lower than the margins. So the composite goes from the margin down into the pit. Same thing over here. Your pit's not deeper than the margins. Your pit's actually a little bit above the margins, so the anatomy is impossible to work out. Turn the patient this way. Then from the lingual, you can do the pit from the lingual side. And then, again, do the central groove down into this pit here. But again, if the anatomy is not deep enough, there will always be excess. And then you can do the inside of the marginal ridge down into that pit. Okay, so that gives us a little bit more of the contours we're looking for. And again, if you don't have the contours, then you don't have the margins. Okay, so go back over this same thing. Go back over a little bit more and see if you can finish it up, but pay attention to those anatomical details.
Okay.